Our story follows Buck, a St. Bernard Scotch sheepdog mix, throughout his adventurous search for self-identity. Buck is stolen from his wealthy owners and sold as a sled dog to a French Canadian named Perrault. Perrault's ship heads northward to a remote part of North America where Buck experiences snow for the first time. Not only does he receive several beatings from humans, but Buck also is introduced into the savagery of the other sled dogs that he is now living with. This is the first time Buck discovers that the other dogs are just as much of a threat as the humans. The lead sled dog, a husky named Spitz, hates Buck from the start, and the two become rivals inevitably fated for a lethal fight. As the sled team journeys through the treacherous terrain, Buck learns that he must steal his food from the other dogs or risk starving to death himself. His morals of anti-theft are abandoned as he can feel the instincts of his wild ancestors coming alive. One night at camp, Buck finds Spitz sleeping in his spot and challenges him. Just as the fight begins, a pack of nearly 100 wild huskies rushes the camp and forces the outnumbered, injured sled dogs to retreat to safety. The sled dogs arrive in the morning to find Perrault and another man discussing how the wild huskies may have given the sled dogs disease, but they ended up doing nothing. Buck is soon chased by a sled dog who has become mad from disease, but is killed by one of the men just in time. Later that night, the sled dogs start tracking a rabbit and venture off from camp alone. Spitz and Buck decide this is the opportunity to fight with no men around. Buck clearly is losing the fight, but he eventually tricks Spitz and breaks his leg. The other dogs watch as Buck finishes him off. The sled team is sold to a Scotsman who then sells them to Hal and Charles in Skagway. The new owners are brutal towards the dogs, and Buck is losing his patience. The team reaches John Thornton's camp, and John tells them not to travel across the frozen lake due to the ice being very thin. Buck disobeys Hal by refusing to go into the ice, and Hal almost beats Buck to death before John saves him. Buck stays with John, and they unfortunately watch the entire team disappear into the icy water within a quarter mile into the lake. John earns the favor of Buck. John earns the favor of Buck as they head west in search of gold. They become wealthy after finding a valley of gold, and the team makes base there. Leaving little to do for the dogs, Buck begins tracking his own food and becomes wilder and wilder. While returning from a bull hunt lasting about 4 days, Buck returns to find all the humans and dogs dead with arrows all over them. Buck inevitably kills many of the Indians who did it, and the surviving Indians retreat. Buck decides to join a pack of timber wolves by the end. The Indians of the region mention a ghost dog who runs at the head of the pack, and how the dog returns to the valley every year to mourn the loss of his friend. So that's my summary of The Call of the Wild. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you.